This week on ANN, we look at the recently voted One Humanity Statement.
The Adventist Church in North America's End It Now Abuse Summit is coming up. We have information on how you can register.
And in Brazil, the Adventist Church has started a new web series amid the COVID-19 pandemic.
These stories and more coming up.
Thank you so much for joining us this week.
First in the news, as we reported last week, Seventh-day Adventist Church leaders of the General Conference Administrative Committee, or G-C ADCOM, voted September 15 to accept as an official statement One Humanity, a human relations statement addressing racism, casteism, tribalism, and ethnocentrism.
The statement comes after recent events led the Public Affairs and Religious Liberty, or PARL, World Affairs Committee on July 1st to vote to explore producing a new church statement on global issues involving racism.
Ganoon Diop, director of PARL for the Global Seventh-day Adventist Church, spoke about why this statement was important in today's climate, noting the increased global awareness of the pandemic of racism.
Diop said, "When it comes to the Seventh-day Adventist Church, we have in our DNA the concept of equality, because we are among those who believe in creation. There is one humanity, and racism is the denial of the human dignity of a person created in the image of God. The principles and values that characterize us as a church means that our voice should be heard on this issue. The challenge for all Adventists is to live up to this ideal."
President of the Global Seventh-day Adventist Church, Ted N.C. Wilson, expressed support for the statement, saying, "What a powerful statement the Adventist Church has produced in terms of helping people see the big picture of human relations and the need to allow the Holy Spirit to control our lives in these last days of Earth's history, and to show the world that we are one humanity as Christ takes control of our lives."
Throughout the writing process, the writing subcommittee met with the PARL World Affairs Committee and its subcommittee on racism and other elected Adventist church leaders to receive input for the draft statement.
On August 11, the draft statement was sent to the General Conference Public and Official Statements Committee, and on September 14, the draft statement was voted to go to the G-C ADCOM.
Church leaders believe this new statement should be a call to every Adventist member to demonstrate the love and peace of Christ in their communities.
General Vice President of the Global Adventist Church, Ella Simmons, who chaired the writing subcommittee charged with drafting and revising the new statement, stressed that the statement isn't meant just to address issues of racism in one region, but global issues of discrimination.
Simmons said, "This is more than a statement. It is a clear declaration of the Adventist Church's position on human relations. It is our illustration of God's call to his people for how we should put Christian love into action. It is an urgent expectation and a clear expression of how we will live together as a church and what we will model to the rest of the world wherever we are."
You can read more about the church's new statement in full on Adventist.news.
November 13 and 14, the North American Division of Seventh-day Adventists will host an annual event which aims to raise awareness of violence against women and minors taking place in churches, homes, and schools. This year, the End It Now virtual summit on abuse will place greater emphasis on providing church leaders, pastors, seminary students, school administrators, and teachers with practical tools to help victims of domestic violence or intimate partner violence receive the help they need in a safe, effective, and non-judgmental manner. Assistant Director of Women's Ministries for the Adventist Church in North America, Erica Jones, said, "We've built an awareness and engagement campaign over the years that has worked well. More and more people have expressed interest in our summit and resources, but now it's time to put more tools in people's hands. Many ministry leaders are grasping that this is not just a women's ministries issue, it's a human rights issue." The keynote presenter of the summit will be Mary DeMuth, the author of We Too, How the Church Can Respond Redemptively to the Sexual Abuse Crisis. Additional topics covered by thought leaders in this field will include protecting children and youth and digging out of the pit of spiritual abuse, a topic presented at a previous summit that past attendees have requested to hear again. The End It Now Summit on Abuse has been an annual event since 2017, and as in years past, presentations will be given both in English on November 13 and Spanish on November 14. Tips on how to access additional practical free resources from women's ministries will be shared during the virtual summit. Visit enditnownorthamerica.org for more information and to register for November's event.
On September 20, the Adventist Church in South America will premiere No Longer Am I Who Lives, the first Christian web series to be released in Amazonas, Brazil. It took 8 days and dozens of people to record the program. The series follows 19-year-old Estefany da Silva Maia throughout her daily life and involvement with Club de Desbravadores Pathfinder Club. Maya had big dreams until one day a diagnosis of an incurable disease and a new friendship moved her in a different direction. Set amid the coronavirus pandemic, the series focuses on Maya and her ability to deal with challenges and complications relating to lupus. Maya began journaling her reflections in a diary, and it was from her entries that the web series was born. You can catch the premiere at feliz7play.com on September 20.
Bom dia!
Teve um tempo que eu não sentia nada. Nem Deus.
Atenção, unidade Bellatrix! Descansar!
Foi quando veio uma doença que, segundo os médicos, não tem cura.
Você tem lupus.
Eu vejo nisso tudo novas oportunidades de ficar bem, da gente cuidar de quem tá perto.
Mãe, a Daiane pode vir aqui?
Melhor não, né, minha filha? Vocês dois são do grupo de risco.
Eu queria estar na linha de frente, ajudando. Mas agora, me coloco em retaguarda.
When employees at the Southeast Hospital, an Adventist healthcare institution in Villahermosa, Tabasco, Mexico, began testing positive for COVID-19, management had to tighten operational procedures to flatten the coronavirus curve and somehow continue to provide non-COVID medical care to a community hit hard by the pandemic. As of September 15, more than 28,800 positive cases and 2,600 deaths have been reported in Tabasco. 48 employees had to be quarantined for 3 weeks or more from early April to August. The hospital, which is classified as a facility that does not treat COVID-19 cases, has a triage area to screen for COVID-19 symptoms. Any patients with such symptoms are sent home to rest or directed to one of the appropriate medical centers for treatment. Something had to be done to protect the dozens of hospital staff while regular visits and surgeries decreased in the months of lockdown that began in April. New patients sent by overwhelmed hospitals began to seek regular medical services at the Southeast Hospital, needing additional coordination. The hospital implemented increased preventive measures, including hand washing, sanitizing areas, and instruction on the correct use of personal protective gear for each department of the hospital. Employees were switched to reduced work days of 12-hour shifts so they could have the public transit restriction to early hours in the morning and early evening every day. Within 5 months, more than 380 patients have gone through the special triage set up at the hospital, and none of the more than 200 hospital staff and employees lost their jobs throughout the toughest months. Administrator of the Southeast Hospital, Alexis Perez, said, "Our task is to continue in the mission of offering a holistic health service that restores the image of God in our fellow men, as our mission statement reads." Perez also said that 95% of the staff are Seventh-day Adventists, and the hospital is known for its quality Christian care in the community.
Advent Health for Children in Orlando, Florida is offering its pediatric patients a new way to safely socialize from the comfort of their room.
Using new technology coined robot avatars, patients can virtually travel through the hospital campus, stopping in playrooms, lobbies, and other areas.
The hope is to eventually use the robots in place of patients in community gatherings and events they otherwise wouldn't be able to attend.
Advent Health sent this report.
Today I have the opportunity to introduce Robbie the robot.
Hey, welcome to the playroom. I have some really fun activities for you today.
It is awesome. You could go a lot more places without leaving your bed.
The robot actually becomes the patient. The patient is on the screen, able to go out to the units, giving that child the sense of socialization virtually.
It drives really easily. The controls are super simple. I love how tall it is so that way you can turn around, you can see a bunch of things.
After COVID, we recognized we could use these with almost every patient, and that is because every patient is on isolation basically. They are in their rooms, but with the robots, we are able to provide activities for them at bedside by making it a virtual experience. The robots can go anywhere in the hospital. They're escorted by a staff member or volunteer.
I think this could be helpful because it might be a way where families could visit, and that could be really helpful to people who are suffering from being alone.
We want to thank and show our appreciation to Champions for Children and for the support from Advent Health Foundation, Central Florida. The robots are allowing us to create experiences for our patients that we would not have been able to do. Those experiences are changing how we're able to work with our patients and families as child life specialists.
Coming up, by this time, you've probably heard about the Adventist Church's strategic focus, I Will Go.
Up next, we'll see the inspiring story of how I Will Go started.
When I first felt called to be a minister, I didn't want to be a typical pastor with a suit and a tie. One of the things I appreciated most about Christ was his ability to defy convention. Once, when I moved away from a place where I was pastoring, one of my friends said, "We're going to miss you. You're so unusual." I take that as a compliment. I'm someone who likes a challenge. I love to test my limits. I've been running for more than 35 years, most days of the week. I love to run, especially in nature. It's time alone with God where I can recharge. I run first thing in the morning so I can prepare emotionally and spiritually for whatever I might experience that day. I find my greatest fulfillment in relating to people who aren't Adventist or even Christian. We have to meet people where they are. That's what Jesus did, and it's still our responsibility today. I have friends who are Christians and atheists, gay and straight, old and young, of all races and ethnicities. I'm a biker, a runner, and a pastor. I'm extremely blessed. My name is Stephen Chavez, and this is my whole life.
Welcome back.
Recently, the Seventh-day Adventist Church launched a new strategic focus for the next 5 years, Reach the World, I Will Go.
As a continuation of the Reach the World strategic plan, I Will Go offers something for the whole church. It's a tool to help the church be more focused and effective in performing critical tasks.
Reach the World, I Will Go is rooted in the Great Commission found in Matthew 28, which calls Jesus' followers to go and make disciples of all nations. The details of the plan reflect data collected from Adventist members through several research studies. This information identifies areas that can help us as Seventh-day Adventists grow spiritually and become more effective in our mission to the world.
But did you know the I Will Go initiative was influenced by students in Argentina?
The Universidad Adventista del Plata sent this report.
God asked Moses, "What is in your hand?" Humanly speaking, it was insignificant, but for God, it was not. In 2010, 2 young medical students had a dream to gather an army of missionaries. Without any resources, they went ahead and saw firsthand that simple idea in God's hands is a victory. Sooner than they thought, everything was happening. Students were joining along with teachers, deans, administrators, and even church leaders worldwide. After a very short time, in 2011, Universidad Adventista del Plata hosted the first I Will Go Congress for young missionaries. Speakers came from around the world, bringing with them more than 700 students who were eager to dedicate their lives to the mission. Do you think that was it? God had already surprised them, but there was more to come. In 2013, a second Congress was held at Universidad Adventista del Plata that brought together more than 1,000 students, and even more so, other Adventist universities promised to host the event as well. And just like that, I Will Go began spreading all over South America. As a result, a third edition of I Will Go was held in Brazil, bringing together more than 600 students. Then again, in 2017, Universidad Adventista del Plata opened its doors to receive more than 2,000 aspiring missionaries from around the world. 2 years later, in 2019, Peru called for a 5th edition and 3,600 students were called to serve and promised I Will Go. Almost 8,000 young missionaries have been trained since the Congress was first held. But hey, did you think that was it? The Adventist Church worldwide embraced this idea, and today it is a project that will be implemented in different countries and will impact the lives of thousands of people. Isn't it amazing? Do you remember Moses? Do you remember the 2 students who had a dream but not resources? God's plans are bigger than we can imagine. This story does not end here. There is more to come, and you can be a part of it.
Cada una de las instituciones de educación superior de la Iglesia Adventista fue fundada con el propósito de recrear en el mundo el modelo educativo del Edén y de esa manera inspirar y entrenar a los jóvenes estudiantes para cumplir la misión y proyectar, a través de ellos, un servicio profesional. Las universidades elaboran planes acompañando el rápido desarrollo de las nuevas generaciones, que se mueven a una mayor velocidad que las anteriores y han generado cambios que impactaron realmente el mundo. Este gran movimiento se ve reflejado también en los campus universitarios adventistas. Hay eventos que son hitos en la historia, nacidos en lugares poco comunes y quizá con actores anónimos, pero por su cercanía con la gente, supieron interpretar también su necesidad. Puedo dar certeza que el origen del programa I Will Go es un buen ejemplo del poder creativo y enfocado en la misión que tienen los jóvenes universitarios. A quienes gestionamos, queridos colegas, nos corresponde fomentar nuevos espacios para el diálogo y la producción de ideas que generen este tipo de cambios. El desafío de entrenarse para cumplir la misión no puede esperar. No se trata en estos días de qué universidad lo hace mejor, no se trata de qué país lo hizo antes. Esta urgente necesidad no tiene fronteras. Solo el desafío de hacer la voluntad de Dios, dando lo mejor de nosotros, es lo que debe mover nuestro deseo y nuestra intención. En este contexto, la UAP toma el ejemplo de nuestros jóvenes, valora su iniciativa y promueve un espacio de encuentro para que junto con todas las universidades podamos potenciar este sentido de misión del joven universitario. Con su lanzamiento en la Universidad Adventista del Plata el próximo sábado 29 de agosto del 2020, el programa universitario para la formación de los estudiantes en la Escuela de Misión está disponible para que podamos coordinar acciones conjuntas. Vamos a llenar nuestro campus, vamos a colocar en los corazones, vamos a predicar, vamos a enseñar, vamos a investigar, vamos a posibilitar que salga de nuestros labios una sola frase: I will go.
Coming up, David Trim is here to let us know what happened this week in Adventist history.
But up next, Adventist Mission has a story from a school in Liberia.
You have found what makes you happy, and then everything else will come into play.
It's important to all. The brain is infinity and beyond. There's no reason to never stop. There's always a reason to start.
Family. Family. I've never seen anyone that's so excited to see just me for no reason than just to see me. And I'm trying to be a better person for her. It's a work in progress. It's nice to see someone that sees you from those little innocent eyes, who sees me as the guy that she loves and comes and gives hugs to. And
whether it's for my 3 children or my friends or my family, if this does not exist, then it's meaningless.
I want to remember this moment now, when 20 years from now she's an adult. Hopefully she's come to be a good adult.
Why is there evil in the world? Are Christians hypocrites? Is the Bible a fairy tale? Does Jesus love everyone? Church doesn't feel relevant to my life. Is God even real? You have questions? Let's talk about it. I Believe Bible.
Hi, VL. How are you? Are you okay? Dear VL, I can't even remember how long we've been staying at home now because of this virus. For now, it's just nice to hear your voice and see your face. Nothing beats playing outside in the dirt though. Which reminds me, are your hands clean? Yes! Mommy and Daddy says not a lot of kids get COVID-19, but it's always nice to be extra safe. We should wash our hands before picking our nose. Washing our hands protects us, but it also keeps us from spreading the virus in case we touch something dirty. Let's always be clean and safe, okay? Love, Joey.
Welcome back.
Buchanan Seventh-day Adventist School has more than 600 students.
This week, we hear from Adventist Mission how a portion of your 13th Sabbath offering this quarter will help Buchanan Adventist School as they minister to their students and community.
Adventist Mission has more.
Darlington loves playing basketball, but even though his school has a basketball court, he'd rather play at other schools because his school's court is dangerous. Welcome to the Buchanan Seventh-day Adventist School in Liberia. Today is Color Day. Students leave their uniforms at home and wear colorful outfits as they happily offer their lunch money to raise funds for a school project. This year, their goal is to raise enough money for a new bulletin board in the school's elementary area. Although Darlington came in full uniform today, he still contributed to the project. With over 600 students ready to help, the bulletin board is sure to be built. Darlington, though, longs for something more than just a bulletin board. He's a hardworking grade 12 student who hopes to study international peace and conflict resolution someday. While he studies hard and has hopes for the future, he still has an interest in things like playing basketball. Unfortunately, his school's basketball court is not very safe to play on.
It is a gravel. It is not a level ground. It hurts many people. So when anyone will volunteer themselves to construct a new basketball court, then we will refer ourselves there and play basketball.
The school has plans for a recreational area, which includes both basketball and volleyball courts. Along with this are plans to renovate a science laboratory and an unfinished auditorium to be used as a multi-purpose space. During big events like graduation, the school spends a lot of money to rent other auditoriums because they don't have a place of their own. With new chairs, the necessary equipment, and a few finishing touches, the school could have a functional auditorium, making it the biggest auditorium in Buchanan.
It will alleviate most of the problem we have with congestion. So have a greater impact for our students where we have an able environment where we can assemble freely together as a school.
More and more parents choose to send their children to the Seventh-day Adventist School in Buchanan because of the high-quality education they provide and the good values they teach. A portion of your 13th Sabbath offering this quarter will help construct a new recreational area, a science laboratory, and an auditorium here. Please pray for the Buchanan Seventh-day Adventist School in Liberia as they minister to more students, provide quality education, and teach them about the love of God. Thank you for supporting the 13th Sabbath offering.
Watch this and other mission stories online by visiting AdventistMission.org. Then click on videos at the top.
And finally, for today's episode, let's turn to David Trim for a look at Adventist history.
This week, the first General Conference session was held just outside of Battle Creek in the U.S. state of Michigan.
Welcome to This Week in Seventh-day Adventist History. Throughout most of this week, 144 years ago, September 19 to 24, 1876, the 16 delegates to the 15th General Conference session were meeting in Lansing, Michigan. This was the first General Conference session to be held outside Battle Creek. The statistical report given on the first day of the session reported 10,044 church members in 398 local churches, in 15 conferences in the United States, plus the Swiss mission in Europe. It was the first time that total membership passed 10,000. Also throughout this week, but 124 years ago in 1896, the Kansas Conference camp meeting was held at Council Grove. As the Review and Herald reported, many of the people came long distances with teams and covered wagons, yet nearly 1,000 were present on the last Sabbath of the meeting. Pioneer Adventists regularly had to travel vast distances to meet with fellow believers, but they were willing to sacrifice to practice their faith. Finally, September 20 in 1943 seemed like a disaster for the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Japan, which then had some 1,300 members. In that one day, the Japanese government imprisoned 36 church leaders and ordered that church buildings, the publishing house, the school, and the hospital were all to be sold. But church members in Japan remained faithful in the face of fierce persecution, and there was to be a renaissance. Missionaries returned remarkably quickly. Edward Kraft, who had served in Japan from 1920 to 1936, arrived in September 1945, the same month the war ended. He was quickly followed by Andrew Nelson, who had also served in Japan pre-war and whose PhD dissertation was on Japanese literature, and by Francis Millard, who both arrived in October 1945. Millard became the first post-war president of the Japan Union Mission. Today, in the Japan Union Conference, there are some 15,000 church members. That was This Week in Adventist History.
Thanks for watching A&N. Join us next week for more stories from the headquarters of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
We'd love to hear from you. Send us your feedback and tell us how your church is making a difference in its community.
Be sure to capture plenty of video footage and photos, then write up a summary of the event's important details, and feel free to send full video reports as well.
You can reach us by sending an email to annvideo11@gmail.com.
Before we say goodbye, here's some good news from the book of Titus, chapter 3, verses 4 and 5.
The passage says, "But when the kindness and love of God, our Savior, appeared, he saved us, not because of righteous things we had done, but because of his mercy."
That's our program for this week. And remember, you can always visit Adventist.news for daily news and videos. Until next time, God bless.
Take care.